Welcome back to the Tavern Between Dimensions, a monthly rocket-propelled grenade podcast.
Wait, what?
We need to have a chat, buddy. So, after the races, we have the character backgrounds. Now, Yeah. So, let's be honest. This is...
Chef's kiss.
This is a part of 5th edition that was... that had less uptake than other bits of character creation. But now... fantastically, it is crucial to the whole journey, right?
Yeah.
Your ability score increases at character creation are tied to your background.
As it should have been.
Not your race.
Not your race.
Which is great because it just opens so many new options for characters, for storytelling. I mean, yeah, what a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started, I was saying that it kind of makes sense that this adventurer is strong because they've been a blacksmith all their life.
Yeah.
Not because they're a dwarf. Like, that makes sense. And that opens up so many kind of character opportunities. In the grand scheme of things, like Tasha already introduces kind of floating ability score increase with the custom lineages.
Yeah. Now it's built in, I guess.
Now it's built into the backgrounds, which is a fantastic place to put it because it's still entirely customizable. The backgrounds themselves, although they give some examples like Acolyte and Charlatan and Guard and whatnot,
yeah, some
you
templates.
can still freely move them around.
Mm-hmm.
You get skills from it, you get tools from it. It sounds like tools are going to get a bit more spice to them.
Which
in
is
this.
good. I mean, tools are always like, they were a flavor thing, but it's a lot of times when there could have been some really good things. I know they tried to adapt it in Xanathar's Guide. Yeah, trying to add more things to them, and I ended up using them a little bit more. But yeah, they always fell to the wayside. There was almost like no point in having them. Yeah. So if they get a boost, nice,
fantastic. Yeah.
And you can create your own background, right?
Create your own backgrounds, yeah.
Before you get into creating your own background, there's one more thing they've added to backgrounds, which again sort of goes into what we're talking about, of how feats are going to become more important, because every background has a feat. Like looking at guards get the alert feat, which would make sense. Again, you've been watching the walls all your young life. You're just going to be much more aware of stuff that's going on around you.
Yeah,
very cool. Because previously backgrounds used to have like a totem ability tied to them, which never got used. Never, except the Bard one, which gave you like free lodging and food for the night. Every single character's background has never used that ability because they were just not useful, just symbolic, and had no purpose. Now you're really going to be able to dig into that background, and it's going to inspire so many new characters and new ways of playing them. It'll be great.
Yeah. I mean, I never... When it came to like the bonds, flaws, ideals, that was kind of the linchpin of the background originally, right? Like, you just kind of chose the 2 skills that would fill out your skill table, and I never used to use the tables from the rule books because I would just think when I was creating a character, like, who is this character and what is his flaw, and I just kind of come up with it so it was unique there and then. So I've noticed that they're gone from this as is, so that's cool. Like, if you want to play, like, I'm playing a little grumpy, sardonic little goblin, and like, I didn't have to choose that from a table. I just wrote that in, but he's an absolute knob. The other thing is starting languages. So now everyone gets 3. Boom. So you get common, you get 1 from your background, you get 1 from the table. There was a part of me that kind of liked the idea of playing a wizard and then just going, I speak 8 languages. I am a smug polyglot. But there are some new languages in here. Common sign language. I enjoyed that edition. Like, upsettingly, I'll put my hand up and admit that until I saw that on the page, there was a part of me that was like, that kind of forgot it. But now that it's there and it's kind of jogged me, I'm more like, I'm prepared to kind of make use of that in the world. So whether that is better disability representation, or even actually, what if your rogue picks it up and then your fighter also picks it up, and now you can communicate silently in effect.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a good idea.
So thieves, rogues get thieves cant, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, only rogues get thieves cant, but it does mean that you could around the table like pick a mixture of languages. But yeah, I mean, sure. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, when it comes to if there are runes on the wall written in Draconic, if you're highlighting that to your players, then arguably it's kind of important.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know ahead of time, oh, none of my party can speak Draconic, then in a sense, why would you either A, raise the presence of the runes, or B, have it in Draconic? Like, you just go, oh, it's Orcish. Like, within reason, but, if you're just going to paywall information, like plot, behind a language that none of your players have. So, next up, feats. As we kind of suspected, these are very similar to how they are now, but slightly toned down. So you mentioned alert earlier. That's gone from a +5 to plus proficiency bonus.
Yeah, scales much better now.
You can be surprised.
Okay.
So whereas alert you couldn't be, but you do get this initiative swap. So again, because this is a first level feat, you may well find there's like a 3rd level version of alert that stops you being surprised. So you find stuff like that.
Very cool.
But yeah, none of these are particularly foul. Lucky is still lucky. Except it's proficiency bonus as opposed to 3.
Which again, I think that's going to be coming up a lot. Proficiency bonus, because there's been a lot of things I think in the past where you've been locked behind that number and there's been no way to change it. So proficiency bonus just makes things grow with you as a character. So I prefer that change greatly.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the feats are quite flavorful. There's like musician.
I was about to say, looking at musician, inspiration comes up again. You have tool proficiencies and you can give inspiration. So fundamentally, even if you're not a bard with bardic inspiration, as a fighter musician, you can be dishing out inspiration to your players. So
yeah, basically, we don't need the bard class anymore.
You shut your mouth.
So after that we go into like a rules glossary. So these are changes to some of the core rules.
I think there's 2 big ones here, right?
So there's a number of big ones. So like the spell list has been homogenized. So instead of spell lists for each of the classes that can cast, you now have arcane, divine, and primal. So theoretically, you can have a vicious mockerying wizard. You can have a
sorcerer casting all the wizard spells.
Yeah, sorcerer. Right? Yeah, sorcerer casting. Yes.
Yeah. I think I have no issue with this. Really, I think it just gives you more options, bigger toolbox, makes it easier to read because previously you had to look at the list and go, does bard get this spell? Or they don't get this spell. Simpler, better, more options.
Interestingly, though, it makes me wonder whether that will stick as broadly as it is now, or whether in each of the class descriptions it will then have these are the spells that you can take, and these are from the arcane spell. Because
that'd be going backwards.
I kind of wonder if maybe they're going to actually be breaking it down into things like different resistance for different type of magic, so you can finally like all these spells are primal spells. I have like as a druid, I have primal resistance, so any primal spell I'll resist. So I'm wondering if maybe less it's about like this is just the spell list, or whether or not it's going to be something like these are the different types of spells, and you can have different resistances to the different types. Like
I mean,
not sure about that one. But interesting.
I mean, when I would argue that when some like the full casters, wizards, sorcerers, bards, clerics, etc. Like a lot of their class identity comes from their spell lists. Like a bard is a bard because of the bard spells. And sure, it's got like a bardic inspiration, blah blah blah. But the fact that the bard has access to bard unique spells, the wizard has access to wizard unique spells. I would say that the warlock has access to a warlock unique spell, but I'd also then point out that Eldritch Blast is not on the cantrip list. So that might become a class feature. But
interesting, yeah.
If you are playing a wizard which currently naturally gets significantly more spells than a bard, and you just took nothing but bard spells, air quotes, bard spells.
Yeah.
What's a bard doing?
Okay, so I think that you're right. There will be arcane spells, and then there will be bard, wizard, and warlock spells separately, and that only that class gets those spells. Okay, I can see that.
Or I think it would just be a case of all the spells will be listed out as they are now, but at the moment there's that page that says wizard list, wizard spells, brrr, sorcerer spells. Brrr. Instead, I think it might be easier if when you're looking at the wizard page in the rulebook, it just says you can choose from these spells, and it'll have it in the class build, and then you just turn to the arcane spell section of the book. Yeah. Maybe that's what's going to happen. But yeah, sorry. Moving on. The next eyebrow raiser.
Yes.
20s and 1s.
Mm-hmm.
So, rolling a 1 always fails, always.
Yeah, so not just for attack rolls, that's also ability checks, which was actually not the case in the previous book. That was a house rule.
Yeah, so, I mean, I always thought 1s would be a fail. Like, I count 1s as a fail. Rolling a 20 always succeeds on whether that's a crit or a skill check. So you can critically succeed on a skill check, and whatever it is you're trying to do succeeds.
But what else do you get?
You also, if you roll a 20, you get inspiration. So that's one of the ways that they're kind of building in.
That can be a lot of inspiration, right? If you're rolling a lot of d20s, you got multi-attack.
You can only have one at a time. So they've kept that. You can only have one at a time, and you lose it on a long rest.
But
unless you're human, then you...
But if you gain inspiration when you have inspiration, you can hand that to someone else.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. You can give it to a player in your group.
As it currently is, it is possible to farm inspiration by stopping to do a perception check every 5 steps.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, you make a lot of checks and so on.
Yeah. So, like, sure, that is the same kind of munchkinness as being like an abjuration wizard and a warlock with the armor of shadows and then just casting it every 6 seconds to charge up. Like, okay. But like, as it currently stands, I like the inspiration is being hard coded into the game because, like, looking at a 20 and going, "Ooh, yeah!" Like, and that just, having that as a reminder, like, that's a significant event as a reminder, but it is prone, as it currently stands, to being gamed, which is not great. Because then you're in a position where, as a DM, are you saying, oh no, only on D20 rolls that I give permission for inspiration to be gained from? Or someone just rolls a dice without asking the DM, and then it's a 20, and they go, it's a 20, and I get inspiration! And the DM goes, no. pack that in. And like, that's even worse than not getting the inspiration in the first place, right?
Yeah. Well, they've also said with rolling 20s, you can't bypass limitations, which I think is something we've all had in the past. We've rolled a 20 and we've done some superhuman shit that we probably shouldn't be able to.
Yeah. So, like, from my experience, like, looking across the internet, most people have looked at that and said, well, yeah, that's a house rule that I had anyway. Like, if you roll a 20, then you succeed on a skill check. And like, the most famous ones arguably are like Brennan Lee Mulligan's in Dimension 20 ones. Like, they pull off some heinous shit off the back of 20s on skill checks. But like, here's my spicy take. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I don't think a 20 on a skill check automatically equals success. And hear me out, because it has to specify, can't bypass limitations, right?
Yeah.
So if my player walks up to me and says, I want to roll athletics to pick up this mountain and move it out the way so we don't have to go through the mines of Moria, I'm just going to say no. Yeah. Like, like, I'm not going to go, oh, roll a skill check and see if you roll a 20. So if I'm kind of already putting my foot down on those because they're a bit silly, if I'm making up a DC, it's very rare that I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to set the DC to whatever it is that it only passes on a 20. Like, you look at do you see what I mean? Like, if someone's got a +3, I'm not going to go, oh, this lock is DC 23 to pick. So for me, I just think if you're rolling a skill check on the hopes that you're going to get a 20 and break physics in our world of fireballs and dragons, then like, why are you rolling in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, as a DM, why are you kind of saying?
But I guess,
okay.
yeah, as a DM, you do have control of that situation. If someone says, "I want to roll athletics to pick up a mountain," you can be like, "No."
Yeah, because it either means that you're either saying as a DM, "Oh, the DC is so high that you can't pass it," or like, "I'm going to set it to only." Just I don't feel like I'd ever come up with a DC knowing that you'd only pass on a 20.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me.
And Anton, you were gonna mention something. I think this is the spiciest part of this change.
Yeah, there's a change with regards to critical hits.
Yeah.
So critical hits can only happen with weapons and unarmed strikes.
And the DM doesn't get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means spellcasters cannot crit using spells, right?
Yeah.
And the DM not critting, I think this was mainly an issue that stemmed from low-level combat, where if you got critted and it was low level, your character would die. And I think they're trying to alleviate that, and I don't think they've gone about it the right way.
I'm not a fan of that.
No.
Because, like, obviously, the players need to have fun. But the DM is also a player.
Mm-hmm.
And the DM is unlikely to not get caught up in that excitement of seeing a 20 on a dice. Like the players do. Like, when a player rolls a 20 and goes, ooh! A DM's going to do that as well. And then go, oh, wait, no.
Yeah, listen, I like the spiciness that comes with being critted. Like, if I know there's a chance my character might die if I get critted, that's exciting, right? Maybe I'm just...
I mean, it does depend on the player. I've definitely, like... Getting critted on, like, as a wizard isn't always going to be as fun as saying getting critted as a fighter. Like, a fighter will get critted and be like, oh, that was nice, that felt interesting. A wizard's going to be like, I'm almost dead, I'm not having fun anymore. But I think the thing I don't like is the fact they've removed it for things like spellcasting. It's just weapon attacks. Like,
I suppose
there's no point.
I suppose the big difference is that spellcasters have access to a deluge of abilities that are like, even if I miss, you take half damage.
Yeah.
Whereas fighters, paladins, barbarians don't. It's like that. It is a binary. I hit you or I do not. Once upon a time, in the original 5th Ed edition, 5th Ed playtest, there was a thing where it's just like, if the fighter misses, you take ability score damage anyway, as the fighter deals a glancing hit. Like, that was a thing.
Yeah, just make fighters and melee classes better. Don't make spellcasters worse, right?
Yeah.
That's
I think there's also that kind of half-half with the spellcasters, because like some of a spellcaster's attacks, the spellcaster rolls. Some of the spellcaster's attack, the opponent rolls. And the opponents can't be critically hit on the ones with the saves. So maybe it's a bit confusing. But blanket, no.
Yeah.
Like, no one cried because Firebolt crit.
No, it's fine. I think some people got confused by it, but it's not a major issue.
And actually, think about it. A lot of people cheer when Guiding Bolt crits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good time.
I think those are largely the spicy ones. Inspiration we've already discussed. There's some more kind of status effects that are spoken about here. Rangers and druids now have access to primal spells.
Yeah.
And then we're on the spell list.
Awesome.
So
that was good chat.
There's some interesting stuff in there. There's stuff in there that I'm happily going to be pulling across into Explorers of Elsewhere going forward. It'll be interesting to see how some of this evolves. I think some of these are red herrings, like critical hits.
It's so spicy.
Yeah, I've seen some hot takes on that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's a good start.
Yeah, I think the best changes so far is the character creation, like separating race from the ASI, putting the ASI into backgrounds. Brilliant move. It's things that I think have been a long time coming, and I have, just interestingly, again, the half races, like getting rid of them entirely, making them a thing. Although something you said earlier, which I didn't comment on, is I'm wondering if maybe what was the half orc and the half elf becomes their own race entirely, becomes like a whole new race with a whole new name, because now they've been around so long, they have become their own entity. I wonder if we'll see something like
Orkling,
whatever, but a whole new species, because it's no longer that odd to see.
Orkling and halfling, yeah. That works.
I mean, to be fair, I guess in a way, if you really squint, tieflings, Asomar, and Ardlings are half human, half whatever, and they got their own names. So yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that's the thing we'll see in the future. Like these half races come back as full races, because I think also the connotation of half so and so can obviously sometimes be problematic in itself. So maybe again that's why that change happens.
Yeah, I really like what they've done with the this Unearthed Arcana. I think I like 80% of it. There's a small 20% that I don't like.
Yeah.
But for me, the key takeaway again is they've simplified it, and they've actually, by doing that, they've given us more options. And I think that's what we can expect from ONE D&D. Thank you very much for watching. If you like, hate, or dislike what we're doing, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out our other videos on the Explorers of Elsewhere YouTube channel.